The biggest mistakes most single guys make is they fail to plan. And just like the old saying goes, if you fail to plan, you might as well be planning to fail. In the last 2 episodes of this series, we talked about first the philosophy of Life 2.0, and we talked about going from rock bottom to transformation. In today's episode, I want to give you the 5 pillars of a plan that successful men use to create the foundation of their lives. In this episode, we're going to be putting some granularity to some of the things we've talked about in the past in terms of how do you actually get this done. So let's talk about it. This is Life 2.0. I think that when we're young and single, creating a plan seems abstract, like a waste of time. Like, what you're gonna do? You're gonna get married, you're gonna follow the algorithm, you're gonna do what everybody else does. Hell, women have been planning to get married their whole lives since they were little girls. They must have the plan. So why should I have a plan? If I'm just gonna get married anyway, my plan is to provide and protect. Her plan is to figure out the rest of that shit. Well, women's plan go right up to the time when children are born. After that, the romance is going to be gone. There is no plan for you. You've served your purpose. Now you just become a logistical coworker. All your conversations are going to be about getting things from point A to point B, providing and protecting. That's your function. That's what you will do. Well, life has to be more than that. And as a single guy, you have the opportunity to create an incredible, enjoyable, fulfilling life that places you at the center of it. So rather than dedicating your life to a woman and making sure that all of her needs are met, you can start by prioritizing your own needs and creating a life and a frame, if you will, that might create space for another person to fit into it successfully. And that's the key. When you have a plan, then you can create space for that second person, for that woman. But if you've got no plan, then you're turning the keys over to your life over to your future wife. You're letting her drive. And I don't know if that's a good idea. I think historically, we can find plenty of arguments to suggest that's not the best plan. The first and arguably the most important pillar is financial independence. As a single guy, you have no extra expenses. Taking on a woman is taking on a dependent in most cases. Now I know many of you will argue, well, women can work, they can have jobs, they can bring in income. And that is the case. And despite, all this equal rights talk, still in 80% of the households, men are the primary breadwinners. More often than not, if your girlfriend has a job, after you get married, at some point, she's going to quit that job and you're going to be financially responsible for her. If you remain single, or just in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, you have full access to all of your money, which means that you have the ability to make decisions that benefit you. You won't have to worry about anyone spending money unnecessarily on stupid shit that you don't want or need and that you'll end up throwing away at some point in the future. And every dollar that you don't spend on some stupid piece of crap that's going to fill up your basement or your attic is a dollar that you can put into the bank or into an investment or into a savings account or into a mutual fund. So take advantage of this. Think in terms of, what do I need to survive financially? Take some time to write it down. Put it on a spreadsheet. Put it on a sheet of paper. Write out your expenses. Get it down to the penny. Figure out how much money you're making. If you're not making enough money to achieve your goals, then you need to get a second job. Or you need to get a better job. But in any way you cut it, you need to have plenty of money. Because you need to be putting away a significant amount of cash. Having worked in the insurance and financial services field for 25 to 30 years, I can tell you from experience that people who have their shit together have between 3 and 6 months of their expenses saved. Period. Period. Before you start investing in crypto or some other speculative investment, you definitely need to have that foundation established. If you have that 3 to 6 months tucked away, then you are to some degree bulletproof against the economy. When things go up and down, you lose a job, whatever, you have a buffer zone that's going to protect you when things get crazy. And you've got to think defensive to begin with. If you start off with a strong offense, I mean getting really aggressive with your finances right off the bat, you're gonna make yourself vulnerable. You're not gonna have the foundation in place to protect you when things go sideways. So number one, create that 3 to 6 month buffer zone. Number two, you need to accumulate assets. Real estate is an asset. Now I know there's lots of people who are very either pro or against buying a house or buying real estate. And you can do your own research on that. It has been my experience that there is not being made more real estate. Real estate is a finite commodity. The markets will go up and down. Over time, real estate increases with value. You are leveraging your money in ways that oftentimes I see a lot of these gurus overlooking. So for example, as a first-time home buyer, you might be able to get into a piece of property with a 5% down payment. So let's just use today's numbers and say you're going to buy a $400,000 house. So you need to have $20,000 up front as a down payment, and you're probably going to need another 10 grand for closing costs and things like that. So you need to have $30,000 in order to pull this off. If you can get down to a 5% interest rate, your $400,000 house is going to cost you somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000 for your mortgage payment. Hopefully interest rates will go down and that number will drop more. If you go out and try to rent a piece of property right now, I'll say if you're going to rent a townhouse or you're going to rent an apartment in a city or even in a built-up area, suburban area, $2,000 is what you're going to pay for a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment in most places. I know around here in the Northern Virginia area near Washington, D.C., which is a very expensive area to live, a 2-bedroom apartment could cost you $3 grand very easily. Renting a house, a single-family house of any size, is going to cost you at least $4,000. So that $2,000 mortgage that, when you throw in taxes and insurance, maybe $2,500 a month, is a bargain compared to what the rental market would do. Also, when you own your property, you are insulating yourself against market forces. So, like for me, I've got this great interest rate, as I imagine a lot of older guys do who may have refinanced during the pandemic area, where we got these crazy low interest rates at like 3% or less. Well, yeah, my mortgage payment is so low, it's embarrassing. I think that the actual foundation of my mortgage payment minus taxes and insurance is like, I don't know, maybe like $1,500 a month on a house that has a value of over $800,000. So when you think about being able to leverage money and insulate yourself from market forces, it's both an aggressive move in terms of building your wealth, and it's also a defensive move against insulating yourself against market forces in the real estate industry. So having assets, whether you buy a house or you buy, you start investing in long-term equities, or even if you go like the crypto way, buying and holding an asset for a period of time is extremely important. People who try to take on that whole day trading concept of, constantly trying to time the market to make money is a very, very challenging game, and most people lose at it. So put the odds in your favor, buy and hold, and expect that asset to increase in value over time. If you're a young guy, you've got a huge time horizon. You've got 30 or 40 years to let that money grow. So put it in something and let it grow. Now, if you're looking at retirement accounts, you're thinking about that, you need to compare the advantages and disadvantages of things that are qualified, meaning you're not paying taxes on that money as it goes in and as it grows, so it's tax deductible going in and it's tax deferred as it grows, versus something that is more traditional, that gives you more access to the money when you need it. It doesn't get taxed coming out because you're paying taxes as it's going in. Anyway, there's a whole lot of things that you need to be aware of. And I suggest that you get some professional advice so that you can get your head around what the advantages and disadvantages of each one of these things are. In most cases, it probably makes some sense to distribute your wealth or your income, your investments, between these different kinds of investment opportunities so that you are taking advantage of all that they have to offer. Thinking long term is the key. You're not just thinking about retirement necessarily, but thinking about as your life unfolds at different stages, you want to have access to money so that you can take advantage of opportunities when they come up. So for example, you may have a friend who wants to start a business and he needs some capital, and you might be that guy that could fund that capital, and that business might be the thing that propels you into a whole nother strata of wealth. And that happens all the time. But you've got to have the money available to take advantage of those opportunities when they pop up. If you don't, then they're going to pass you by. So managing your money, having a plan, building wealth, owning assets, all of these things make a difference. The vast majority of people are unwilling to do what it takes to do this, to accomplish this. The vast majority of people have the ability to do it, but they're unwilling to make the sacrifices necessary now to have the advantages in the future. And that's what separates people who are successful in life and those people who fail. It's deferred gratification. When you can defer, I'm not going to go out to a movie this weekend. I'm going to take that $50 that I would have spent going to a movie and getting drinks or whatever, and I'm going to put it into my mutual fund, or I'm going to put it aside and save it for a down payment on a house. Well, that's deferred gratification. Those people do the best. They really do. When I was a teenager, I had a friend, and I had two friends. I had a good Mike and a bad Mike. I had a lot of fun with bad Mike. Good Mike taught me a lot of lessons. Good Mike was the saver. Like, he was the guy that was always into money. And good Mike, he's rich. He's really rich. But he never had a job that paid him a lot of money. He never made a huge amount of money. I mean, he had, a nice job. It paid him well. But he was never like a wheeler and dealer on Wall Street or anything like that, or a lawyer. He just had a normal white collar job. Anyway. And plus he had tons of kids. He got married, had tons of kids. The guy's a Mormon. They don't ever get divorced. It's like an act of God to get a divorce if you're Mormon. Anyway, he valued wealth, and he could see that for everything that he put away, it would be there for him when he needed it. And so he accumulated enormous amounts of money, and he looked for every opportunity to do it. So he was in the Army, and of course in the Army you have a lot of advantages. I think he was like an officer for, did his 4 or 5 years or whatever. And since he was living on base a lot of the time and he was getting paid pretty well, he just stashed all that money away. He was saving a couple $1,000s a month sometimes. He was just raking it in and putting it aside. So over the time that he was in the Army, he was able to save between $30,000 and $40,000 so that when he came out, he had a nice little chunk of change that he could use to invest. Well, shortly after coming out of the Army, got a good job, started saving even more money. Well, I don't know what he's worth right now, but I would almost guarantee that he's got multi-millions saved. And he did it all through deferred gratification and planning, prioritizing saving money along the way and investing it. And he would buy gold and platinum, and he would get into index funds and buy individual stocks. And he just did a great job. And as he bought property, he would buy a house that would be a kind of a fixer-upper, and he put some sweat equity into it. And so when he sold the house, he got a lot more back for it. He's just a smart guy, prioritizing building wealth along the way. Now, when you have a woman in your life, it's really hard to do that because, of course, she's going to be spending every dime that you have. And you're not going to buy a fixer-upper house because most women are going to want you to buy a house that looks the way they want it to look. They want to have a turnkey operation, you know, where you walk in and the whole thing looks like Barbie's dream house. And if you can sacrifice that and you can buy a house that's a little bit outdated, needs some paint and carpet and maybe a little bit of handyman work, well, you can move in and add $10,000 to $20,000 to your net worth by just going down to Home Depot and spending a few $100s on paint, a couple $1,000s on carpet, and you know, a few Sunday afternoons with a screwdriver and a wrench. And next thing you know, your house is worth even more. So that when you do sell it, or even if you flip it, you can maximize your returns. As a single guy, I strongly recommend that you look into these things. Also, you need to have multiple streams of income and multiple streams of wealth. So, obviously you gotta have your primary form of income, but you need to find something that you can do on the side that will generate income without you giving it a lot of attention. Now, you could write a book, you could do this kind of stuff, you can create something and sell it. Everybody has some kind of expertise. You know, if you can package that expertise and make it available to the wider world, it has value and people will buy it up. So find ways to create additional streams of income. The last thing I want to say on finances is invest in yourself. That means invest in your education, whether that be a formal education or a self-taught education. I think they are equally valuable in many regards, in many respects. But don't expect that you are just going to somehow become more valuable as you get older. That is not the case. You need to be a better man. And that means you need to be smarter, more capable, you need to have skills, be interested in things that you care about, and learn them from the ground up. Figure out how to do it. My daughter has a YouTube channel on cars and car repairs and rebuilding them. And she's never rebuilt an engine. The engine in the little car she's been working on blew up the other day. She's gonna rebuild that thing from scratch. She's took the engine out, took it apart, getting it machined. She's rebuilding the engine from scratch. At first, when she told me about the problem, I told her, look, honey, this is the best thing that could have happened to you, because now you're gonna learn this thing better than anyone could. Building this motor from the ground up is going to be an enormously valuable asset to you in the long run. Even though in the short term, it's difficult and it's painful and it's expensive and it's hard, and she's disappointed because it took her off of what her plan was for this car and what she wanted to do with her channel and all that stuff. Despite all that, this is gonna be a wonderful experience for her. Sometimes negative things become the most important thing to your success. So just because something happens that seems a little off plan or a little off schedule, don't let it throw you off, because it may be exactly what you need. The second pillar that's critically important is your health. This is the most overlooked category of success, I think, in America. 2/3 to 3/4, I think it's 3/4 now, of Americans are overweight, and more than half are obese. Obesity is not a body image issue. It's not about how you look. I don't give a fuck what somebody looks like. Obesity is a disease process. It's a metabolic condition that will lay the groundwork for some terrible, terrible illnesses that will kill you. They will shorten your life. Being obese and overweight causes you to have brain fog. It causes your, I have to remember the memory center of your brain, your hippocampus, to shrink. The bigger you get, the smaller your brain gets. So really, as you get fatter, you truly do get dumber. So you need to prioritize your health. It needs to be right up there with your money. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Without your health, it doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter how savvy you are with your money, it doesn't matter how many good ideas you have, because you're going to dedicate a lot of your time, energy, and resources to keeping yourself alive. You're going to be taking drugs that have enormous side effects. You know, the pharmaceutical companies do a really great job of downplaying just how bad these side effects are, but they are bad. And they have a huge impact on your quality of life. The whole reason you want to build wealth is so you can have a higher quality of life. But if you are physically sick all the time, what does that do for your quality of life? You've just wasted all that time and energy building up this wealth because now you're sick. Anyway, when you're single, you've got this great opportunity because you have control over your time. When you have control over your time, you can prioritize those things that are most important to you. And being healthy and in good physical condition and eating a healthy diet is critically important. If you overlook this, if you put it as a second priority, if you think it's not important, you will pay a price. I see it all the time. I cannot tell you how many people have come to me over the last 7 or 8 years suffering from chronic diseases like heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney disease, cancer, prostate cancer. I mean, it's just so many things that come down to your lifestyle. The vast majority of people can avoid the vast majority of diseases by eating healthy and being physically active on a regular basis. If you don't make that the primary pillar of your life will lose value. Your lifetime, your experience will not be good. You will just be, squeezing in good opportunities for, pleasurable times, good times between doctor's visits and surgeries and drug overdose, or not drug overdose, drug side effects. All these, once you fall into that whole medical establishment and you become a part of that, your quality of life just starts to drop because it just becomes one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. It's just a chain reaction, and I've seen it happen so many times. It starts with a little bit of high blood pressure. Next thing you know, you're putting a stent in your chest, and you've got kidney issues. Maybe now you're going to move on to dialysis. Now the diabetes starts to creep in. It's just taking years and years and years of your life away from you. And quality years. These are going to be years that you may still be able to retain because they can keep you on drugs and they can give you enough treatments to keep you physically alive, but that time will suck. That's not going to be good quality time. You're not going to be able to say, hey, I'm going to take a cruise around the world, because you got to be within 15 minutes of a dialysis machine every, third day. So yeah, you do not want to have that happen to you. So the only way to prevent it is to be smart early on. One of the great things about being single is you don't get the stress of a crazy person in your life every single day with lots of needs that need to be met. You don't need to compress all that anger and frustration in dealing with a child who is dependent on you for anything and everything and who is completely irrational. So your mental health is going to be in a better place than most married guys. Almost every married guy that I know is stressed out to the max. I was having a conversation with this guy a couple days ago. He's got 3 girls. They're all like teenagers. One just went to college. He's been married for 20 couple years. He is just so stressed. Everything about his life is stressed. I said to him something on the lines of how he just needs to take an hour out every day to relax. Like he just needs to dedicate that to himself so that he can unwind. And he said, John, if I had an hour in my life every single day. Oh no, we were talking about preparing meals. That's what it was, because he wants to lose some weight. He's depending on his wife to help him with that. She doesn't want to do it. So he's got to prep meals, or he's got to buy prepared meals. So he's trying to buy meals. That's what it is. And I said, just take an hour out on the weekends and prep meals for the whole week. It's not that tough. And he said, John, if I had an hour free, I would spend it to my wife talking to her about something other than logistics. He said, we don't have any conversations about ourselves, about our relationship, about our marriage. We don't have sex. We don't have anything going for us except for moving these children around from one place to another almost around the clock. That sucks. He's got a stressful job. He just started investing in real estate, so he's stressed out about that too. And yet he doesn't get any peace of mind from this relationship. In fact, this relationship, if anything, makes his life more stressful. Anyway, as a single guy, you don't have that. But focusing in on your mental health is critical. Stress is the killer that people don't realize. Negative thoughts, negative exposures, it's like eating a bad diet. If you are allowing negativity into your body through your mind or your mouth or whatever, you're going to have negative repercussions from that. There's no way that you can't. There is a cause and effect that is almost predictable with everybody, and stress is the cause of so many illnesses. It causes your body to release hormones, stress hormones, as a result of the sympathetic nervous system releasing tons and tons of cortisol, which is a healthy hormone in and of itself at the right time and right place. But when it's constantly turned on, your body's releasing all of this energy into your bloodstream, all this glucose into your bloodstream, which is not necessary. And what ends up happening is when you don't use it, like you're not actually fighting off a tiger or running from a tiger, you're just pissed off at your boss or at your wife, well, all that glucose gets liberated when the sympathetic nervous system gets turned on, and then it gets redistributed. And where your body wants to redistribute it is right here, right in your gut, to protect your organs. That's right. It wants to defend you against that potential onslaught. That's what the fat does. It creates this little layer around your organs to give you a layer of protection. Of course, it's killing you in the long term, it's killing you. But in the short term, I guess, if a tiger took a slash at you, it would just get fat. It wouldn't get your, wouldn't get your liver. But yeah, so you do not want to be a victim of stress. You need to be living your life in a state of gratitude, with a state of acceptance, and rolling with it as much as possible. And when you come from a place of, I believe, I have confidence, I have faith that my life is coming out the way that I want it to, that it's going to work out in the end, that everything's going to be fine, and you have that framework for your life, you can bring your mental health under control very quickly and easily. In today's modern age, there are more people on anti-anxiety and antidepressant drugs than at any other time in history. People are suffering from mental health at an epidemic level. There is no reason for you to fall into that trap. Your mental health is within your ability to manage. It's just a matter of making the decision for yourself what you're going to allow into your consciousness and what you're not. Stress does not exist out in the world. Stress is something we create in our heads. Anxiety does not exist out in the world. Anxiety only occurs in our heads. Depression does not exist out in the world. Depression is something that we make for ourselves. So when you start to experience these things, realize that you have a lot of control and say over how these things affect you. And you can change it by changing your thoughts, changing your understanding, changing the way you view the situation, changing your perspective. All these things can be changed by just altering your viewpoint, by taking a more optimistic, more positive, more confident, more faithful position on all of these things, and you'll be fine. However, if you believe that you are a victim of circumstances and that you have no control over your destiny, then you will feel stress, anxiety, and depression. So don't let that get in your head. Don't let it happen to you, because that is the quickest way to having a miserable life. Developing personal skills and having the ability to become a better guy is critically important. And those 5 C's kind of create the framework for how you become a better version of yourself. And it's not just about learning things, like becoming more competent in your skill sets and developing new ways of making money. It's also about becoming a better human being. Like you can't be an asshole and be successful. I guess you can. I mean, I see some politicians that technically from an outward exposure, position would look like they're successful. I'm not so sure that they actually are. I think that they're suffering a lot and we just don't see that suffering. You got to set for yourself what successful is. You got to decide for yourself, what does it feel like to be successful? And then build the structure, the scaffolding around that to help you establish that in yourself, in your life. And you can do a lot of that right now. You can actually be a lot of the things that you want in your future success in this moment right now by just looking at, those 5 C's, looking at the character, the competence, the courage, the confidence, the compassion. You can apply a lot of this stuff in the here and now and make an enormous difference in your quality of life. And the kind of person that you are is going to improve. And not only that, but the kind of people that you draw into your life is going to improve. If you become a better guy, you're going to attract better people to you. I'm not just talking about women here, I'm talking about better guys. I mean, if you have a network of people that you can trust who are of the same mindset as you, and they're all looking to build wealth, and they are high character guys, and they are wanting to collaborate with you because you're a high character guy too. They want to open up opportunities to you because they trust you. They know that you have the characteristics that they're looking for in a partner. You see what I mean? Like when you're a high character guy and you've got courage and compassion and competence and all that stuff, you got all that stuff working for you, you become valuable, not just to yourself, but to other people. So developing those skill sets is critically important. You cannot undervalue that. Just like with the money and your health and fitness, your character is critically important. And those 5 C's do a pretty good job of identifying the things that you need in order to be a high character guy. Along with that comes developing your frame, and having that vision for your life. And someone wrote to me in one of the comments recently and said, what the hell is frame? Well, frame is when you have a vision for your life that includes not just the quality of life that you're going to lead and what you want for yourself, but what is it you're doing? What are you giving back? What is your contribution to the world? What are you doing? What's your mission? What's your purpose? What are your boundaries? What are you willing to put up with? What are you not willing to put up with? What are your values? What are the things that you have decided that are critically important and you will not accept in your life? Because if you don't have a frame, if you don't have an idea on how you would answer these questions, like what kinds of people are you willing to let into your life or not let into your life? What kinds of behaviors are you willing to let into your life? What kind of characteristics are you looking for in your friends? What kinds of characteristics are unacceptable? How does that apply to you? What kinds of characteristics are acceptable to you, for you? What are the values that you hold yourself to? When you start to answer these questions, you start to narrow down the exposure that you're going to have to negative influences in your life. Because as you make decisions along these lines, you are cutting off opportunities to people who don't fit that parameter. You see what I mean? And also, as you get closer and closer to establishing, and achieving your goals, through your vision, every time you take a step toward it and you make a decision that's bringing you closer and closer to it, you're cutting off the opportunity for failure. You're stopping anything else from happening. Like I said before, decision is about cutting off. It's not just about choosing, it's about cutting off other choices. And as you're moving towards your goals and you're moving toward your vision for your life, you're cutting off any other opportunity because you already know what you want and you're not worried about other stuff. All you want to do is achieve your goal, your vision, your frame. Having a frame helps you create the lifestyle that you want for yourself. It helps you create the experience that you want for yourself. When you're single, you can do this freely because you're not asking permission from anyone else. You're not having to include someone else in this planning process. This is all you. And you see, once you've created this frame and you have an idea of who you are, what you're willing to put up with and not put up with, what kind of people you want, all that stuff. You have your mission in sight. You know what you want. Bringing a woman into this world means a number of things. Number one, she's got to comply with all these things. Like she's got to be that kind of person. She's got to be a high quality person coming in the door. You know what I mean? She's got to have the same kind of values that you have. You know what I mean? Like you've eliminated most of the female population. You're taking all of the blue-haired, face-piercing, tattooed women off the table. You know, they're not going to be a part of this game. You don't need to worry about them. They're not coming to you. They're not going to be in your life. You don't need to worry about that. You have narrowed it down to exactly what you want. And when you do that, you attract it. You find it. It happens. I guarantee it. Pillar number 4 is all about social connections. You've got to have strong, healthy social connections. And I'm talking about quality connections over quantity connections. The number of followers you have on Facebook is not an indication of good quality connections. You need a handful of people who fall into different categories in your life. The first category is you need to have some confidants, people that you trust, people who have your back, people that you can go to for help, people who come to you for help, people you can talk to straight up, no holds barred. You need to be able to come clean and have someone be able to give you their honest opinion that you trust. You've got to have someone like that in your life. Maybe a couple people like that, but if you can get at least one, you've got an advantage over the vast majority of people. Number 2, you need to have mentors. And I'm not talking about people that you go to and say, hey, I want you to be my mentor. Can you teach me this, that, and the other thing? No. I'm talking about people who you admire their lifestyle, their life, what they accomplished, the things that they've done in their lives. Whether you know them in person or not is secondary, but you need to find them. They could be in books. You could read, biographies or autobiographies about great people who came before you that were able to accomplish amazing things and overcome amazing problems. These people can be mentors to you in a way, from the grave, if you will. But if you can find someone who has achieved a great deal of success, who has the kind of lifestyle that you admire, and who is the kind of person that you would like to emulate, that's the best kind of mentor. I was very fortunate in my training, when I was training people, to come across a guy like that who was extremely wealthy, which was what caught my attention. I drove up to his house. I did the training at his house because he was so rich. And it was a palace. It was beautiful. It was like nothing I've ever seen. It was like going to a resort. He had a swimming pool that most resorts would be jealous of. It was immaculate. His yard was, all the bushes are sculpted. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It was like something out of a movie. Big, giant circular driveway. He had a golf course on his property. He had tennis courts. You know what I mean? It was just unreal how successful financially this guy had been. But he was the most unassuming, easygoing, nice guy, very spiritual guy. Gave of his time freely to people who had no idea who he was or what his financial success was like. He would help people at church network and get new jobs. He would give them really good advice on how to improve their lives. He would adopt families in the worst part of town in DC, and he would send those kids to the best private schools. And he would sit with those kids a few times a year to find out how things were going, to get to know them, to mentor them. He gave of his time and his money and his resources freely. He was a genuinely good human being. He is a genuinely good human being. He has a good circle of friends, and I count myself lucky to be among them. But my interaction with him opened my mind up to what life could be like. It changed my perspective in positive ways. And he doesn't know he was a mentor to me, but he was. Because just through our conversations and just through me observing him and interacting with him over the years, I've been able to reshape my own life in ways that have made me into a better person. So finding people like that you admire and getting to know them and making yourself a part of their life and using them as a mentor by observation, through observation and to a certain degree by mimicking their behaviors, you will find that just adds to the quality of your own experience, the quality of your own life, and it makes you a better person. And as I said earlier, when you become a better guy, when you become a better man, you attract better people to you. Other good men will be attracted to you, obviously. They want to do business with you. They want to be your friend. They want to hang out with you. And good women Better women, better quality women will come at you. They want to have you in their lives. They will be using a different yardstick. They are looking at you differently than what you hear on the internet about, oh, all the Chads are this and all the Chads are that. You know, they're gonna be looking for guys that are high quality. And there's a different experience with high quality people. You know, they have different values. And it's not just about physical appearance. It's just not about money necessarily. It's not even about sex appeal or any of that stuff. They're looking for people who can enhance the quality of their life at a deep spiritual, emotional level. And Chad can't do that most of the time. There's some good-looking guys that are good guys. I'm not knocking all you guys. If you're a Chad, I'm not saying you're an asshole. I'm just saying that a lot of them are. Get involved in your community. Get involved in your church. Find charities to help. Get to the boys club. Volunteer for the kids sports leagues. Be a referee. Whatever you want to do. Like, get out there and get involved. Join some teams yourself. Meet some people. Find good people to be around. It's critically important for not only your mental health and your physical health, but it's also good for your social health. Having good connections in your community is really, really important. These days, we're way too isolated, and you've got to break that paradigm. You cannot allow yourself to fall into the trap of staring at a screen all day. You've got to get out and meet people and become engaged with the community. Those people are going to be the ones who get the opportunities for successful endeavors, whatever they may be, whether it's knowing about a building that's going up or an investment that becomes available or being asked to sit on a board. All those things happen when you're engaged. No one's going to come to your couch and offer you an opportunity, okay? You got to get out there and meet people and get involved. And that means going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, getting involved in Rotary clubs, going to, I don't know what the Lions Club is about, but I think that might be another one you can get involved with, where you're volunteering your time like they do for the, I'm trying to remember the one they do for, the kids that get cancer. But anyway, there's lots and lots of stuff like that out there, and I would strongly recommend that you find a way to get involved in it. It will make you a better guy, and it will expose you to better people, and you'll find that your life just gets better when you do that. The next one is family. You've got to prioritize the relationships with your family. Families are hard. Families are difficult. The best way to deal with family is don't allow yourself to get offended so easily. Families sometimes feel like they're a safe space for you to express yourself in obnoxious ways. They're not. You need to treat your family members with respect, even if they don't respect you. I'm talking about your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your in-laws, if you got them, God bless you, and even your kids to a certain degree. But you've got to be able to have healthy relationships with your family. When it comes to your kids, the philosophy I have taken with my own kids that has worked out really quite well, and we are extremely close, is that I ask myself one question whenever they come to me with a problem or they need my guidance or advice. And that is, do I want to support them in this endeavor or not? And if I do want to support them in whatever they need from me, then I will be included in that endeavor. I will be inside their circle of trust on that issue. If I decide that I do not want to support them on whatever it is that they're going to do, they want to do in their life, and I in some way give them negative feedback about that thing, whatever it is, then I will be outside of that circle of trust, and I will no longer be able to influence their behavior in that situation. So as you might guess, it's very rare that I do not support my kids in whatever endeavors they choose. Fortunately, my children select good endeavors. They do the things that I would choose for them most of the time. I raised them well, they're healthy, they're smart, they're good kids, they make good decisions. The final pillar is kind of a culmination of all these other 4. So it'll be really simple, and I know this video is running long, so I'm not going to belabor this, but live a life of purpose and meaning. Make your life about something bigger than just you. Make your life about making a difference in the world. If you have a big picture of what your life can be, if you can see the contributions that you can make, if you can affect other people's lives in positive ways, if you can make a dent in this world in a positive way, then that legacy will follow you forever. Not that it's important that people remember you in some particular way, but it would be nice if those people who come into contact with you are affected in some beneficial way, some positive way, and that energy gets carried out to the next person, and the next person, and the next person. That you create a ripple of positive energy in the world. When you do that, your life has been fulfilling and meaningful. You will recognize that when you're giving of yourself, when you see that you're bringing value to the lives of other people, when your purpose, when your vision for your life benefits others as well as yourself, you will find that your life becomes more fulfilling than you ever could have imagined. If you just accumulate wealth for yourself and it doesn't benefit anyone else, and you're just, like Scrooge McDuck, you're like Scrooge McDuck from the Disney Ducks or whatever, you won't find real fulfillment. You won't find real happiness. You won't find that joy that you're searching for. It only comes through the interactions with other people. I know on this channel, I've been very highly critical of women. Women's behavior, I should say. I've been very critical of women's behavior. Now, not all women are like that. When you elevate your game, when you start playing life by a different set of rules, when you start aggressively, assertively being a good guy, being healthy and smart by helping other people, but by maintaining your frame and your boundaries and your goals and establishing yourself as a financially independent and secure person. The positive impact that you have on your life and your community and your family and all the people that touch you is unreal. You can literally change the world. Not that that necessarily needs to be your goal, but why not? Why not? If you're going to win anyway, why not allow others to win with you? When you have that bigger picture of what life could be and how valuable your life could be to everyone around you, it brings on a whole nother meaning. It changes the definition of the word value. You stop measuring it just in dollars and cents, and you start thinking about it in terms of kind of this benevolent equity, that you're creating in the world, that is helping others see things from a different perspective, helping them live their own lives better. And they come to you and they seek out your advice for how they can be better men themselves. One day you become the mentor. You become the one that people see as their template for how to live a better life. Your kids will. It's just a wonderful circular experience, But it all comes down to you making the decision that that's part of your frame. That's part of who you're going to be. That's something that you value. That doesn't happen by accident. You've got to actually see it in your mind that this is something that I want for myself. I want to be a positive influence, not just on my life or my immediate family's lives, but I want to make a bigger splash. I want to make an impact on as many people as I can. Everyone I come in contact with, I want to have a positive impact. I want to be able to leave this world knowing that I have done everything in my power to be the best possible person that I can be. Whether there's an afterlife or not, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You and your legacy will live on forever. I'm only about 2/3 of the way through the script and I've already gone for an hour. So I'm going to shorten this up here at the end. You don't need to worry about all 5 of these things at the same time. Start with the things that are most immediate in your life right now. If it's about accumulating money, accumulating wealth, getting a good job, finding good ways to use your time, make that your number one thing. If it's about developing skills, becoming a better human being, becoming more competent, the 5 C's, if that's what it is, then start there. But take these things on one at a time. But have a full picture of where your life is going. The real advantage here is, as a single man, is that you have an opportunity. And if you can just see your life as that, as an opportunity rather than as a failure. So many guys that go through a divorce, or they're unable to find a wife early on in life, and they think that their lives are washed up and they're a failure. Nothing could be further from the truth. It just means that different doors are open to you now. You have different opportunities than guys that get married. I would argue that taking the time at the beginning of your life, if you have the chance, to establish yourself allows you to be a lot more successful when you do decide to bring a woman into your life, or if you decide to bring a woman into your life, because you will have built yourself up to such a level that you will know who you are, what you're about, and what you want for your life. You'll know what your boundaries are, the kind of people that you want to do business with, the kind of people you want to allow into your life. You will have narrowed it down to so much that it will become almost inevitable that you will attract the right person. So, with that in mind, I'm going to end the video there because, like I said, I can talk on this forever. So the next video, which will be coming out in a couple of days, is going to sort of build on this, and we're going to get into strategies and common problems that people run into, and how to develop this even further and even more granular than it is here. So, until then, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you think this video would be of value to someone that you know, if you think this would actually help them with finding their own traction in life, then please share it with them. Then until next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.